Hey, we're live.
All right. We are live. Let's see. Can we see the chat? Yep, we can see the chat. You guys, this is our first time doing a YouTube live.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, your hair is looking a little funny.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a mess. I apologize to all the people. I don't know what to do with it.
So, and we'll have to be careful not to hit this table too much because it's gonna shake. All right, so we've lost 2 people due to that.
It was my hair.
Yeah, or the shaking.
My hair.
So we are doing this tonight because we were supposed to be out in Roswell and Mother Nature had different plans. Of course, it hasn't been raining since probably 5:30.
Yeah, but if we'd have gone, it would have rained.
Yeah, so. There were like storms just all around the area, and we talked to the shop, the Downtown Pooch, and they said, yes, probably not a great idea because there will be less people out. And, you can't really sign books outside in the rain unless you're going to ruin your books. So,
yeah.
And who wants to ruin this? Here is Riley Carson and the Secret Tunnels. So we are celebrating the release of this book now. It doesn't go live until a week from today. The pre-order might be up. I was having some issues with it and haven't seen it yet. So the pre-order might actually be available. But we are going to do some giveaways. So stay tuned for that. So yeah, pretty exciting.
Yeah, very.
So definitely, if you have any questions, put them in the chat and we will answer the questions. And we'll start off with a question.
Yeah. So who is your favorite character?
Aside from you?
Especially aside from me and my hair.
Yeah, your hair. So asking my favorite character is probably like asking your mom which of her children is her favorite.
That's easy. That would be me.
Oh, okay.
Because she told me.
Yeah. And she told your sister her, and she told your brother him.
She wouldn't lie to me.
So I don't have a favorite character.
Okay.
I do have some characters that are really dear to my heart, though. And I would say that at the top of the list is Mr. Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
I know Mr. Oscar is popular with a lot of folks out there. And then I would say Hawk. I really like Hawk.
Yeah, Hawk's cool.
Yeah. So Mrs. Willnow.
Yeah.
Dr. Smith. So yeah, I can't pick a favorite. So if you have a favorite, let us know in the comments who your favorite is.
Absolutely.
All right. So while we wait for more people to get here, we'll talk a little bit about Roswell, I think.
Yeah. So why did you choose Roswell, Georgia to be the backdrop for the Riley Carson series?
So I could have made up a town, but Roswell is such a cool little town. And it's, for those of you not familiar with the Atlanta, Georgia area, it's a suburb north of Atlanta. And it's not just a suburb, it's a city. And it has Civil War history. And if you know anything about the history of Atlanta and the Civil War, you'll know that General Sherman burned it. And a lot of other things in Georgia. So the history that is preserved in Roswell is one of the big reasons why I really like Roswell and why I decided to set the series in Roswell. So, Atlanta is one of those towns where it feels like we always tear stuff down to build something new. Mm-hmm. Even the older stuff that didn't get burned down. And we learned through the ghost tour, the shout out to the Roswell ghost tour, that the working theory is the reason that the historic homes in Roswell survived the Civil War wasn't because Sherman decided to be a nice guy. Rather, the owners of the homes put Masonic symbols on the outside because they knew Sherman was a Mason, and they thought maybe he would spare the houses if he thought they belonged to Masons. Now, who knows? I mean, he certainly had no qualms about burning things down.
No, there was something, I guess, about Roswell because it took them a while to even tear down the mill. And, that was, it's very interesting. I don't know if it was because there were Masonic symbols on the buildings or not, but I would probably guess it was because that's such a tight knit community. But yeah, it's very interesting. And there's something else too. So I noticed that in your books, you have a lot of paranormal stuff in there. Is that inspired from the city or a mixture of things? Why is there the paranormal because you mentioned the ghost tour?
Yeah. So, and I was just thinking, hopefully whoever is watching us can hear us because we didn't ask, but if anyone out there would like to put in the chat, if you can hear us, let us know so that we're not just talking to nobody, which we might be.
Yeah.
So the ghosts, yeah. So Roswell, Georgia is known for ghosts, like Roswell, New Mexico is known for aliens. Although Roswell, New Mexico is probably a little more well known than Roswell, Georgia.
More famous, yeah.
So that's why we got to get the Riley Carson series out there so we can eclipse the UFOs with the ghosts. But yes, there are a lot of stories of hauntings in Roswell, Georgia. And we mentioned the ghost tour, which if you've never been, it's a really, it's fun. It's interesting. It's educational, and it's not hokey. Like there's nobody hiding, waiting to scare you. There's no like dramatic actors. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but there's no actors leading it. It's just basically like, here are ghost stories and here's how they pertain. So yeah, so for sure. I think this one right here, just like I've made him more of a dog nerd, he has made me more interested in the paranormal. I was always interested in it, but a lot of what I've learned is through all the shows you watched, all the ghost hunting shows on TV, learning about the equipment. You've done ghost hunting yourself. So yeah, so it's what's cool about writing these books is that you realize how many experiences you have through life that you can pull on. So even things like, some of the things I've learned in those, from watching those shows, to things such as, like the beginning of book 1, the Sammy story, that's based on a real event that happened to me and was very emotional. And I think going through that process and editing that book, and I kept crying every time I read it because it took me right back. So, yeah.
So would you say that you drew a lot from personal experiences in some of the situations? I know you mentioned the Sammy situation, but would you say that some other situations made its way into the book, at least partially? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, so
or like experiences, maybe. Yeah.
Like in book 2, the Lennox story is based on a true story of a real dog in Northern Ireland that was a service dog for the young girl in the family, and he was taken away due to breed-specific legislation. Baby Girl, that was a real story that I incorporated into my stories. I guess I'm kind of like the Law and Order for middle grade books, where I'm incorporating something real into a fictional story. So yeah, I mean, and then personally, I've named characters like Mrs. Wilnow, Tim Harrington, Dr. Smith. I've named them after real people that I've known, and those serve as tributes to those people. So
yeah. So the elephant in the room is the dogs, and I know, and I'd like you to tell everyone else, why you wrote these books and why dogs are so important to you.
Yeah. So anyone that has been following, and thank you, Denise. She can hear and she's enjoying it. So thank you. The whole reason for writing these books is dogs. Yeah. So I am a huge dog lover. For those of you that follow Dog Nerd Show, shout out to y'all. And you guys know where my heart is when it comes to dogs. But yeah, that's the reason I wrote these books. Now, I never thought I was going to become an author. Mm-hmm. And I thought if I was an author, I would write some sort of, adult novel. I don't know, just not this. When I lived in London, I thought I would always write something like a coming of age story or something like that. But no, so I was getting inundated in my Facebook feed back in the day when Facebook showed you everything instead of kind of hiding it. And there were so many rescue groups that needed help and so many dogs that needed help. And so it was really starting to weigh on me a lot. Mm-hmm. And so I prayed about it. Like, what could I do? Because I was making stationery at the time, which I'll give a pack of these away. I was making stationery and everything was like, stylish stuff for dog lovers. And I would, donate a portion of profits to animal welfare groups. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't making enough to really put a dent in it. And I was realizing that everyone in like the animal rescue world is kind of running in circles. We're chasing our tails, right? So, it's like kind of like a game of whack-a-mole. If dogs aren't spayed and neutered and they're running loose, they're going to create more dogs, which is going to, they're going to need more families and, shelters get full and it's like overwhelming.
Right.
And so I prayed about what to do. And 2 nights later, I was laying in bed going to sleep. And I was like, I should write books for kids. Because if we can educate people, then they'll make better decisions. And let's face it, it's a little easier to educate kids than it is adults. So if we can educate kids about animal welfare issues, then they will teach their parents. They will make better decisions. We can teach kids to be more compassionate because if they're compassionate to animals, they're going to hopefully be more compassionate to each other. So that's why I started writing. And I should say that it wasn't just because of, seeing all this stuff and I had started volunteering in the rescue world. But I've always had an affinity for dogs. I've always been drawn to dogs. I always have wanted to do something involving dogs. And I remember talking to our friend Andy, mm-hmm. and Andy has helped me with cover art. And this was years ago. And I was like, I want to do something, with dogs. And he's like, well, what about being a dog trainer? And I'm like, I don't think I really want to be a dog trainer. I didn't want to be a dog walker. There's only so much you can do, right? And then this was before Instagram and before, you could make a career out of, giving your dogs an Instagram account. And this is what I ended up doing. And I never thought I would, but I didn't want to open a doggy daycare or anything, so this is how it worked out.
Well, I think we're all lucky that that's how it worked out because your books are fantastic.
He's not biased or anything.
No, but no.
We should let them know, sorry to interrupt, that I actually read the books to him. Not that he can't read himself, but part of, and this was something that I learned from somebody online early on, is that in order to make sure the dialogue flows properly, you should read your book out loud. Mm-hmm. And especially if you're writing middle grade and you're not a middle grade reader, right? So right. Well, I'll be reading the
So evidently I am a middle grade reader.
No, I'll be reading the books to Michael and I'm like, that sounds too mature, doesn't it? Or he'll say, yeah, a kid would not use that word. Now we do, I do have some beta readers, one of which is Michael's sister, and she's a retired school teacher. And I'll ask her Joy, is this word too big of a word to use? And she's like, no, I think it works because, and she'll tell me why it works. And she'll encourage me to keep those tougher words in so that kids can work on their vocabulary. So
always a teacher.
Yep. Always a teacher. So should we read the first chapter?
I think everybody would love to hear the first chapter.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I don't know that my parents are watching, but today is my mom's birthday.
Happy birthday, Mary.
Yes, happy birthday. And she is actually at a work event in Colorado.
Oh.
So my parents have both read this book to give me, typo, let me know where the typos were. And what they don't know is that I have dedicated this book to them. So in the copy that they had, it was not dedicated to them to throw them off the trail. So this one is dedicated to my parents, to Mom and Dad. Thank you for your never-ending love and support. I am so grateful for the life you've given me. Your support of me means the world to me. I love you. Thank you for everything. So shout out to all the parents out there, because you really do make life for us.
Yeah.
Literally, and you're just amazing. So
yeah,
thanks, guys. Okay, so chapter 1, a clue. Riley and Finn sat on the edge of their seats on Riley's front porch, looking at their friend Eve with excitement dancing in their eyes. You think there's a clue to treasure in that book? Riley asked as her eyebrows arched high over her blue eyes. Eve held a copy of Gone with the Wind in her hands, and she thought it might contain some sort of clue. As Eve flipped to the back of the thick tome given to her by their school librarian, Riley wondered if she could finish a book that long. So it's 719 pages long, and there are some blank pages at the end of the book. I flipped through them, making sure there wasn't any more of the story left or notes from the author. On what would be page 727, I thought I saw writing. Eve opened the book and turned to the second to last page. I was reading it outside. It was really bright, and I swore I saw writing. The last page is thicker than all the rest, but I just knew something was there. Riley and Finn looked at the book more closely as Eve demonstrated what she had found. These last 2 pages were stuck together, but I think it was on purpose, she explained. I carefully peeled the top page off of the last page, and in small, faint handwriting, there's some sort of riddle. Eve's dark eyes lit with excitement as she handed the book to her friends to see for themselves. Riley read aloud, her words elevating with excitement as she read. You seek a place where treasure is found. Adventure awaits beneath the ground. Behind my back there lies a clue. If you can read, you'll know what to do. Riley and Finn looked at Eve. Now all their eyes danced with excitement. This is so cool. Finn looked closely at the words, tracing his index finger over them. Oh my gosh, this is awesome, Riley agreed. Did you find anything else? No, there was nothing else on any page of the book, and I inspected it pretty closely after I found this. Riley had a thought and asked, when Mrs. Wilnow gave you the book, it didn't have a dust jacket on it, did it? Riley could tell Eve had the same thought. No, it came just like this. She pointed to the cornflower blue hardcover. I wonder if there was another clue on the dust jacket. Exactly what I was thinking, Riley said. Behind my back, there lies a clue. I wonder if it was on the dust jacket, and who knows where that is now. Probably long gone to the trash. Finn was looking over every inch of the book now, determined to find something when Eve said, I looked everywhere. There's absolutely nothing on or in the back of the book. Finn had a gleam in his eye. What if we carefully peel up this back page that's glued to the cover? It's worth a try, Riley said, then looked at Eve. Do you think that would be okay? Eve nodded. When Mrs. Wilnow lent me this book after we helped her catalog her purchase from the estate sale, she said that I could keep it because it was in rough shape and wouldn't be able to go into the system in the school library. That's right, Riley said. This book probably came from the Powell's estate sale with the journal. She held her hand out and looked at Finn. Let me see. After Finn handed her the book, Riley looked it over, noticing the cracking edges and yellowed pages. The book had that smell, the smell that only an old book had. Not quite musty, just like old paper. I think if we're careful, it would be okay. I mean, after all, she said you could keep it. Eve nodded. Yeah, and we'll want to be careful anyway in case the clue is under that last page. We want to keep it intact if it's there. Finn agreed. It's so old, I bet the back page will come up easier than we think. The glue is probably really dried out. You know I'm game to try it. The girl smiled and Riley said, we have to try. This could be the start of a new adventure.
I think that's fantastic. That is fantastic.
So it is the start of a new adventure. If anyone, since the book is not live yet on Amazon, if anyone wants to buy a copy, I have a limited supply that I was going to sell tonight in Roswell, but obviously didn't want to get them drenched. Just shoot me an email. We can do Venmo and I can sign it to whoever you want. I can mail it to you. If you're in the U.S., that's the real Riley wanting to be seen. You can go grab her if you want.
Sure.
So for U.S. citizens, let me know. Send me an email, Megan@meganwargula.com. And I will be happy to make that happen. If you're out of the country, shoot me an email anyway, and we'll figure out what shipping looks like to your area. So I'd be more than happy to sign and send books to you. There's Riley. She's looking a little rough because she's due for a haircut. But that's the real Riley Roo. And yes, I did name the characters, if you don't know this, after our dogs. And I'm surprised she doesn't see herself yet. She's 14 and a half, so she's looking kind of old. But yeah, but once we actually get her groomed, she'll look much younger. So yeah, definitely reach out if you want a book. If you think Finley's okay to make an appearance, you can grab him. Finley had a little tummy ache earlier, so we were trying to be careful with him. I don't know how many people are on, but if you are on right now, we can do a little giveaway. There he is. There's a Finley. He's had a rough go of it lately. He had a cancerous mass on his neck removed, and he's been recovering from that. So can you see? And his vision is not great. Yeah, that's the Finn. So we will do a giveaway if you are watching, and you can name a canine character in the book, in the series. Oops.
Oh, sorry.
If you can name a canine character in the series, you'll get a book.
Oh, that's an awesome giveaway.
Yeah. So just put it in the chat and let me know. Not a lot of chatting tonight.
No.
All right. So any other questions for me?
So how many more Riley series books do you think there are?
I get that question a lot, and thanks, Denise. They're happy to see you, even though, well, they can't see you. They're happy to know you're there. So I know for sure there's one more book in the series.
Okay.
However, in saying that, lately I've been turning the idea in my head about more books, but potentially aging them up a little bit.
Mm.
That might be because I've been making you watch like teen television. I have a weakness for teen television. So we went through Pretty Little Liars, and then we went through Gossip Girl. We kind of stopped watching Riverdale because it got a little weird.
Teen Wolf.
Yeah, that was yours. I was not as into Teen Wolf. But yeah, so I don't even think I've really talked to you about this, but I've been thinking about what if I age them up? Not sure. Y'all let me know what you think about that. But I do have another series that I'm going to be working on, which will not be middle grade. It'll be a thriller. And I researched the genre, and it's called a paranoid thriller. So stay tuned for that. As soon as this book launches, I've got to start writing the first book in that series.
Yeah. Well, I think we're all excited about this book, and then knowing the potential there's one right after, it's going to be fun too. So
I hope so. Yeah, I got it. Well, that's the other thing too, is I got to start writing the next one, because there's definitely at least one more, because I know how all of this stuff is going to resolve.
mm-hmm.
There's more to come. So at least one more book. Usually when I start writing the next book, that's when I kind of figure out, like, because I thought there might only be 3. And then I was like, oh no, like the way I kind of started structuring things as I wrote, I was like, no, there's definitely going to be at least 4. So we'll see. It's always an adventure for me too. Like, I'm not a super strict planner of my novels, so I don't always know where they're going.
Right.
And so that's the adventure for me. I kind of start writing and I'm like, ooh, this would be fun. And so off we go. So I need to look at my notebooks, because I had some really cool ideas that I haven't done yet. So yeah, at least one more.
So I think one of the questions, and maybe there's someone out there who wants to know, is what's your process? So you talked a little bit about it, but when you say, okay, well, I'm going to start writing a book, what is your process, and how does it go from here to here?
So, and my process has changed a little bit from the first book to now, but I took a really good class here locally that I don't use all of they have a lot of materials for you to like plan out the entire book. And I don't plan everything out to a T, but they had this really cool idea where you take a tri-fold poster board and you split it up, act 1, 2, 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then you use Post-it notes for all of your scenes.
Oh.
So you can lay out the story that way, and it can be real general, right? I mean, I think it was called the 60 scenes writing method. And they said if you've got 60 scenes, which would be 60 Post-it notes, you've got a full novel. I don't get so specific with every scene, but I lay it out and like, okay, this is where I see the start to finish. But I fill in a lot of gaps along the way. I don't plan it out. So there's really 2 kinds of writers: the plotters and planners, and the pantsers. And a pantser is a fly by the seat of the pants kind of person, mm-hmm. which is like, I have an idea and I'm just going to write. Like for the first book, I had a general outline, and then for the second and third book, I used that Post-it note method. So I have a loose plan, but I don't stick to everything. Like, right. Scenes may move around and the midpoint may take a different form. So I just, as I write, I see like how I'm inspired and how, sometimes you get a really great idea and you're like, oh, this is what I should do. So yeah, that's how I write.
So along those lines, you decided to self-publish. Can you tell the folks why you decided to go that route?
That's a really good question. You're a good interviewer.
Well, I tried.
So I did research, right? Like, I want these books to be hugely successful so we could change the world for animals, right? Not only to help educate people and to entertain them, but to donate a portion of the profits to animal welfare groups. So the more books I sell, the more money I can donate. As I was researching traditional publishing, number one, I found out that, you could query for years. I mean, I think the lady that wrote The Help, she wrote like 38 query letters. And then, of course, everyone knows J.K. Rowling's story, mm-hmm. with Harry Potter. It can take a long time. So I wasn't too into that. And then there's a local bookshop in Woodstock, Georgia called Foxtail Bookshop. It's an amazing little bookshop. And I was speaking to one of their employees and told him that I was writing and that I was trying to decide what to do. And he actually does social media and marketing for authors. And he said, I'll tell you this, if you're not like a big name author, you're doing everything yourself, your social media, your book tours, all of it. You've got to be your own PR person, everything. Well, you have to be that if you're self-publishing anyway.
Right.
But with self-publishing, you get to keep more of the royalties. So with traditional publishing, you get a 25% royalty rate is standard. So, 25%, you put in all of that blood, sweat, and tears into that story, and all you get is a quarter.
Yeah.
So I thought, I want to make more money. It may take me longer. I want to make more money so I can donate more money. And then I also did not want to have to compromise my messaging.
Correct.
So through a course that I took from a local author at Foxtail Bookshop, this is an illustration of what it can be like if you're traditionally published. So he writes Southern fiction, and he has no control over his book cover, like no say or what. So he gets his book cover from the publishing company, and it's like a black and white with a barn on it. And he's like, there's no barn in my story. There's nothing to do. This cover has nothing to do with my story. But he knew, and I think he might have said something to them, but it's Southern fiction, and this gives the feel, blah, blah, blah. So, and this is what I really liked about it. Raymond Atkins is his name. I really respected about him is he was like, okay, well, I'm going to write a barn into this story and then burn it down. And that's exactly what he did. He wrote a barn into the story and then burnt it down in like the next chapter because he was like, it's got to make sense.
Right.
And as a graphic designer, not having creative control like that was really not something that I wanted to have to deal with. And if I could segue into the cover art real quickly.
Yeah, why don't you? Yeah, so tell us how that came to be.
Oh, and so I did. I researched like crazy about publishing and decided to self-publish, and that is amazing, but it's like learning a whole new industry. I mean, it's a lot of work. So if anyone out there is writing and thinking of publishing and you're going to self-publish, I will be more than happy to share everything I've learned. I've had so many people help me, and even tonight I was looking online for help with my Amazon account and my pre-orders not working. So, but the cover art. So you guys, I'm really proud of this cover. I designed everything on here except for the silhouettes. So previously,
well, it's except for this human silhouettes.
Oh yeah. Except for the human silhouettes. I did do the dog silhouettes.
Yeah. Thank
you.
Yeah.
So on the cover of the first book, can you grab the others?
Yeah.
So on the cover for the first book, I did everything but the silhouettes. Andy did the dog silhouette too. So I did the cave, making it look like a arrowhead in the trees. But I can't draw people for anything. So Andy helped me with that. And then on this one, Andy did everything. Andy did the silhouettes, the city hall, the trees, the dog, everything. I just did the colors. He had more muted colors, and if you can't tell, I like bright colors. So so for this one, I used the same silhouettes. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I used the same silhouettes from book 1, but I adjusted them a little bit. And of course, they've got flashlights this time. So yeah, but I really love this cover. And one thing that I researched when starting the series with this book was I was looking at middle grade book covers, and I was seeing a lot of very illustrated kids on them. And so I reached out to a couple of independent bookstores, one in Athens, Georgia, and the other one I think was in Decatur. And I can't remember which one gave me the advice, but they said they were tired of seeing so many white girls on book covers. And they said, doesn't matter if your character is white or not, but the cover art was consistently the same kind of looking person. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, I really want every kid to be able to picture themselves as these kids, right?
Yeah.
So like, I I don't put a lot of emphasis on race. Now, Eve in the story is African American, but the other kids, you decide what they look like. They could look like you. So I really wanted the idea of the silhouettes because I didn't want, even on an adult book, when you see someone's face on it, you imagine the character like that. Or if you watch a movie before you read the book, you imagine that actor as the character instead of using your imagination.
Yes.
So
all those Fabio books I read back in the 80s. Now I'm just ruined for romance novels.
Everyone's Fabio.
Yeah.
So that's why I went with silhouettes, because I wanted kids to be able to determine. I mean, like we know Riley has blue eyes and we know Finn has sandy colored hair, but we don't go into a lot of detail. So
it leaves the imagination open.
Yep. Yeah. Kids should be able to use their imaginations, and I want them to see themselves in these books.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah, you guys let me know which cover you like the best. I would love to know in the comments. So this is 1. This is 2. I'm going to hand you 1.
Oh, yeah.
And this is 3.
So 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Which cover do you like the best? And one thing I was worried about is for those of you who have boys, are the flowers too girly? I hope that boys aren't embarrassed to read this book because it's got some magnolia flowers on it. So hopefully not.
No.
Let me know, though. That's the beauty of being self-published. You can always edit things. Yeah, so I think, unless we have any more questions, I think that's a pretty good overview. We've kept these people here for over a half an hour.
Yeah, they put up with us for a half an hour, and we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited, and I'm sure everybody else is excited to get their hands on Riley Carson and the Secret Tunnels. And it'll be out officially next Thursday.
Officially next Thursday on Amazon and other retailers. And if you want a copy now, since I wasn't able to sell my limited supply down at the Live in Roswell tonight, then shoot me an email and we can do Venmo. I can mail it to you and sign it to whomever you want. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, folks, we really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks for joining us tonight. And I can't wait to hear what you guys think of book 3.
Bye.
Bye.
There we go.